What happens when youth becomes currency and aging is the ultimate taboo for women. Enter The Substance, a surreal take on how showbiz turns women into products, and what happens when the shelf life expires. Is this sci-fi horror, a future cult classic, or just Hollywood with the saturation turned up? Today we're breaking down this dark, glossy nightmare that hits way too close to home for women in the entertainment industry. Welcome to Real Talk, where we spill the tea on movies, media, and all the madness in between, with wit, sass, and zero sugarcoating. First things first, I'm not a big fan of horror films, but when the praise for this one started coming at me from every direction, I had to jump in. Honestly, when I saw the trailer, I thought, oh, here we go again. Hollywood preaching the dangers of surgery addiction and telling us to embrace aging gracefully, while doing the exact opposite. Hypocritical much? I get it. Actors and actresses have to cling to their youth like vampires, but the lengths they're willing to go, it's hilariously bizarre. From the start, I thought I knew what to expect from this movie, but trust me, I wasn't ready for how insane it actually gets. The film kicks off with a brief intro of Elizabeth Sparkle, a once famous actress whose name is literally embossed in brass on the Walk of Fame. She was adored, worshipped, and then forgotten. Fast forward to the present, Demi Moore as Elizabeth, now reduced to hosting a cheesy fitness show on TV. And today's a big day, she just turned 50. Enter Harvey, played by Dennis Quaid, a sleazy sexist studio exec. And just like that, boom, she's fired. No warning, no sugarcoating. Just another woman in showbiz hitting the sell-by date. And the way this scene is shot? Disgusting perfection. The camera zooms in on Harvey's mouth as he chews, smacks, and splatters bits of shrimp like it's some grotesque ASMR nightmare. You can hear every single bite, squelching, crunching, slurping. This whole scene gave me trust issues. I legit stopped eating out for a week because I was terrified of watching people chew their food. But let's be real, the most disturbing part. The message. Harvey tells Elizabeth, people always ask for something new. Renewal is inevitable, and at 50, well, it stops. Brutal, but unfortunately, accurate. In this business, beauty isn't just skin deep, it's currency. The setting of the movie is clearly in the surreal world that blurs the lines between reality and fantasy. There's no mention of where it took place. It's not strictly tied to Hollywood, but rather exists in a metaphorical universe representing the entertainment industry's obsession with youth and perfection. After a devastating accident, a mysterious male nurse slips Elizabeth a USB drive and a cryptic note introducing her to the substance, a new you, a better version of yourself. She hesitates at first, but come on, the temptation is too strong. Humiliated, jobless, desperate, she folds. As a fading star yearning to stay relevant, she falls into the seductive trap of eternal youth. But of course, there's a catch. She picks up the substance from a shady back alley operation, forced to crawl through a half-open door to get inside. Symbolism? On point. The visual tells us everything. Elizabeth is literally lowering herself for one last shot at youth. It's a vivid portrayal of her plummeting self-esteem and desperation to fix her insecurities. The instructions? Simple. You switch every 7 days without exception. And remember, you are one. Sounds easy enough, right? Wrong. Elizabeth takes the injection, and what happens next? Her youthful self literally rips through her back. You can hear every muscle snap, every stretch of skin tear, until finally, a younger, flawless version of her emerges from her own body. Meet Sue, the new, better Elizabeth Sparkle, younger, flawless, sexier. The version that Hollywood actually wants. And just like that, Elizabeth is old news. During a casting scene for Elizabeth replacement, we hear a male judge say about a young woman who comes for the audition, "Too bad her boobs aren't in the middle of her face instead of that nose." And that, my friends, sums up the male gaze in showbiz. Too small? Flat as a board. Too big? Too fake? Too young? No experience? Too old? Expired. We can never win. This industry doesn't want women, it wants fantasies, and fantasies have no expiration date, which is why Sue is thriving, while Elizabeth, she's crumbling. I mean, at this point, we all know things are about to go downhill. The old and jobless Elizabeth can't wait to switch back to Sue, young, gorgeous, thriving. While Sue, she's living it up, basking in the fame, the attention, the wild lifestyle. The instructions on the substance package said it loud and clear. Balance is the key. Yeah, easier said than done. As expected, the switch stops working. First, the 7-day cycle stretches to 8. Then, nothing. Sue refuses to swap back. And now, Elizabeth is trapped in her decaying body. And then we get that scene. Sue feels something weird in her side, near her buttock, and starts pushing it out, through her belly button. I had my hands over my eyes because I knew it was going to be something horrifying. An alien? A body horror nightmare? And then, out pops a roasted chicken. What the hell? I was equal parts horrified and cracking up. Turns out it was just a dream sequence. One of the most painfully relatable moments in the movie, especially for women. Elizabeth, vulnerable and craving a little validation, decides to go on a date with Fred, her old friend from grade 10, just a regular guy, an average Joe. Nothing flashy or successful. But for a fleeting moment, he made her feel wanted, and the way he looks at her, like she's a goddess, and she needs that. Just as she's about to leave, she stops. Because staring at her, mocking her, from the floor-to-ceiling window is a massive billboard of Sue. Perfect, youthful, untouchable Sue. She goes back to the bathroom mirror, fixing her makeup over and over again. Sitting in the theater, I watched female audience members exchange knowing looks. Because this is us. Eventually, Elizabeth gives up. She stays home. She hates herself. And let's be honest, how many of us have done the same? It's a brutal truth. We are our own worst critics. And in a world that constantly tells us we're not enough, it's easy to believe it. Then comes the New Year's Eve finale, the peak of Sue's success. The whole world is watching. 50 million viewers tuned in. It's everything she's ever wanted. The only problem? Her substance is gone, meaning she has to swap back. And now? Elizabeth looks like a poorly aging goblin. She's had enough. It's time to end this madness. Just as she's about to inject the final dose of the cancellation substance into Sue, she notices something. A note tucked into Sue's bouquet of roses. Break a leg, they're gonna love you. And just like that, Elizabeth snaps. Her whole life has been a desperate climb for one thing. Adoration, the roaring cheers, the blinding spotlight, the validation that she is still wanted, still loved. She can't let go. She won't let go. Instead of ending it, she revives Sue. And that's when Sue realizes what's happened, and she loses it. Sue beats Elizabeth senseless, forgetting that they are, quite literally, the one. Then comes the body horror. Elizabeth and Sue fuse together into a grotesque, misshapen, pulsating mess of flesh, a slimy, writhing abomination. Think the Elephant Man meets a melted candle. But even now, Elizabeth refuses to let go. In a pathetic last attempt to hold on to beauty, she does what she's done her whole life. She glues a picture of her old, beautiful face onto her deformed, monstrous face. She carefully pierces earrings into the blobs of flesh where her ears used to be. She curls a single, pitiful strand of her remaining hair, like she's still the beauty queen she once was. It's horrifying. It's tragic. And yet, you can't look away. Then, the final act. She stumbles onto the stage, disfigured beyond recognition. Then the glued photo dropped. The audience? Frozen in horror, she begs for love. She pleads for adoration. Desperate, delusional, clinging to a dream that decayed long ago. The final image? Elizabeth, now a pile of melted flesh, crawling to reunite with her Walk of Fame star, smiling as the gold dust covers her. She dies exactly where she wanted to be, on top. Demi Moore is phenomenal as Elizabeth. Some even called her brave for taking a role so close to her real-life career struggles. And she's still stunning at 62. She already snatched the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy. The Oscar nomination? Well-deserved. Margaret Qualley as Sue? Surprisingly good. She nailed that eerie, too perfect to be real vibe. But here's the thing. The substance isn't just a horror movie. We've seen this play out in real life. Aging actresses discarded, replaced, forgotten. Meanwhile, men thrive well into their 60s and beyond. George Clooney goes gray. Silver Fox. Justine Bateman. Brave for aging naturally. See the difference? The substance oozes with glossy visuals, intense close-ups, and haunting aesthetics. For me, the substance feels like Black Mirror meets The Elephant Man meets Ginger Snaps, where beauty is a curse, transformation is a nightmare, and the climax is a full-blown bloodbath. And I have a feeling that after all the Hollywood actresses finish praising Demi Moore for her performance, they'll be calling their plastic surgeons for a quick touch-up before their 7 days run out. What do you think? Is aging a sin? Is Hollywood to blame? Or are we, as women, just way too harsh on ourselves? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for hanging out with me on Real Talk. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me for more deep dives into movies, culture, and all the juicy behind-the-scenes tea. See you next time.